Okay, we're good.
Okie doke. Thanks all. So we are back discussing the RFA draft plan, section 6. We have confirmed the starting tax levy that would be proposed at $1.45. I'll just mention that the plan authorizes the district to later seek a benefit charge, but that is not part of the proposal at this point. It just means that should at some indefinite point in the future you decide you needed to do that, you'd have to get the voters' approval for the benefit charge, but you wouldn't have to amend the RFA plan. You'd still need to go to the voters, that's all. There is no EMS levy that would be imposed by the RFA. That's item B3. The RFA can continue to, engage in service contracts with third parties and collect mitigation fees through contract and transport fees and all the other additional revenue options that both districts currently employ. You would be able to continue to do that. I just point out item C there on page 12 of the plan, page 15 of your packet. So basically part of the whole structure is that the RFA's fire levy will replace the District 21 fire levy and the District 4 fire levy and the District 4 EMS levy. So those three taxes that are currently in place would get repealed effective at the end of this year. You'd have to give notice to the assessor to that effect, and that assuming that the vote is positive, and then you would go forward with the RFA in replacement. Okay, so that gets us, any questions so far? It's pretty straightforward.
So just for clarification, we're going to pass this darn thing in August. It becomes effective October 1st, and then we will actually, because we are going early, be able to collect taxes for 2022 beginning in January. That's the reason why we kind of fast track this thing is to get the money rolling in as soon as possible. Correct?
That's exactly right, and a good reminder. Thank you. We would not be, we'd have to wait an extra year if we didn't go to the voters until November.
Right.
Okay. So transfer of assets is part D. So basically all of the assets currently owned and titled, the facilities and the apparatus by both districts, those, the basic deal for most RFA plans, and as it's written here for your consideration, is that all of your assets will transfer to the RFA on the effective date of October 1st of this year, and as is, where is condition. And the lists of those assets are appended to the plan. My thanks to Chris and to Jenny for their work in pulling together those attachments for us. Are there any questions about that or concerns? Okay. Reserve funds, any funds held in reserve by any and all, both agencies would transfer over to the RFA. And accept stuff to pay off amounts that you've incurred, obligations you've incurred prior to October 1st. The condition of assets we mentioned earlier, as is, where is. So that gets us to the last page, 13 here, and I've just highlighted these on the effective date. RFA assumes all outstanding liabilities of District 21 and District 24. And here is probably
4, not 24.
Oh, sorry, 4, yes, 21 and 4. So here's where we may want to talk about something that I understand came up this morning at the District 21 board. It's just, and it's something that is we often see in mergers and acquisitions where you just try to, everybody agrees, okay, this is the deal, these are the financial assumptions we're going in with. We need to agree mutually agree to stand down, and we're not going to do anything really freaky to the finances of either of our operations between now and the date that we become one. And it may be that, I think District 21, you have some thoughts about pursuing something just to confirm that on a mutual basis.
Yeah, we talked about this at our meeting this morning. It was suggested for the protection of both parties that we create an interlocal agreement as an interim guarantee that neither party would enter into, contracts or debt or anything else before this thing is up and running, and we are officially have a regional fire authority, and so maybe it would be best if Matt Paxton represented the interest here and would fully be okay, obviously, with Mr. Quinn reviewing that document, and that, I mean, to me, this is legalese. It's something that the attorneys should get their eyes on and review. But I'll have Matt talk about it if he can.
Thank you, and I agree with Karen that it's common for these agencies when they're consolidating or forming RFAs to do some due diligence in terms of whether the two entities are compatible. I haven't been involved this entire time, but I do understand that there has been considerable effort to kind of make sure that the finances and the employment arrangements are consistent with each other, and there's an understanding that that's the way that would work well in RFA if consolidated. So this agreement is just kind of a status quo agreement to maintain no unusual changes. Obviously, there may need to be some vacancies that get filled, some routine increases in uniformed firefighters. Those all can continue to happen, but the thought is that the districts would agree that until October 1st, there are no significant changes with respect to employment agreements, the number of employees, reserves, debts, existing contracts, or other liabilities. And as Commissioner Ansel mentioned, we're happy to share that with Joe Quinn, get his thoughts on it. But I think that right now we're talking in concept in terms of is it beneficial for both parties to have those assurances, because it is mutual in that regard.
Joe, do you have any thoughts you want to respond to at this point? We just try to get this on the table. I haven't seen this agreement. I just understood from District 21's meeting this morning that they wanted to propose this, and I think it would be for the two of you gentlemen to work through it and respond back to your clients, hopefully expeditiously.
I'm going to step in from District 4. I don't think we're going to have a major issue with that, though we just are finalizing a review on an employee, and in there probably will be a stipend. And as well, we were re-looking at her contractual language right now, and we are not going to, we're going to continue with that as we made a commitment to our employee in her packet. But besides that, we're good.
And I would say that it's not uncommon, as Matt said, to have a status quo agreement like this. We've been discussing a little bit on the District 4 side, the question of whether there's any outstanding indebtedness. There's no outstanding bonds or any other, even commissioner bonds that I've been apprised of. So send me the agreement. I'll look it over. It shouldn't take more than an hour.
Dave, could you repeat what you just said?
No, I said it pretty clear. I thought is we agree, we support this concept. I like the idea and it makes sense. It's just that we are already in the process. We've just conducted a review of or finalizing our annual review for our employee, and as part of that annual review, it is put in there that there's room potential for a growth of living annual rate of living raise. I'm not going to say if that's going to happen or not, because we haven't agreed upon that as the board yet, what that would be, as well as her contract. Is what we're doing is in the middle of reviewing that as part of our agreement when we hired her. So it was due in came due in March, but or 1st of April. So that's the only thing that we would have.
So it's due today, correct?
Yeah. Yep. This week, just now. You're right, John. It would be her 1 year was, I believe, it would be the first week of April, or first part of April. I think the date was 17th. I'd have to look.
I'm not comfortable with this.
Okay.
When we're talking cost of living wage, are we talking Seattle 3%?
We haven't discussed that as our board, so I don't think it's right for me to come. We're talking about one of our employees who's actually in this meeting. So that'll have to be determined by our board.
Not even sure that really fits within the parameters of what Matt's talking about.
Oh, I know where they're going with it. It's where he wants it, where they want it to fit.
Well, it's a question of debts and obligations and contracts. It doesn't mean that every immaterial increase in some vendor's cost is going to be a
That's
problem.
right.
So what we need to do is define the parameters of what Matt's talking about. Without seeing that first, we can't.
That's right.
Can't really say whether that's even material, Dave.
You're right. We just need to look at it.
So it sounds like there could be a situation, something dramatic could happen to that employment contract that would be problematic for just from District 21's perspective as something, if there was some big financial or other requirements put into that we all know that the RFA will need to assume that contract. So
that's right.
I think it is germane to this discussion about no mega weird stuff going on going forward. Sorry for being imprecise in my language, and it may just be a matter of scope and scale. Some things, normal course of business, not a big twig. But I think that you're hearing from Bruce that there is some concern that not every conceivable thing that might happen to that contract would be copacetic.
I think that's understood.
Very understood.
You know what you're referring to. Many of us are familiar with a pension spiking scandal that happened a few years ago, where fire chiefs' salaries were increased by 40% at the end of their tenure, and it affected their pension in a huge way. I don't think a cost of living allowance of 3%, for example, is that kind of an issue. But if somebody's contract was amended to give them a 20% raise for the next 3 months, the next 5 months, 6 months, but that increased their salary, that might be significant. So
Right.
we need to pin down the parameters, basically. As I said already, if Matt provides me with a document that gives me some guidelines as to how big an increase in a contract is significant and how big is immaterial, that would really help.
So I think that lawyers can be on that, and I think we're obviously talking about changes in job responsibilities, severance, benefits, salary, just if there's anything really unusual on any of those, I think that speaks to what the District 21 concern may be. So thank you, Joe and Matt, for picking that up, and hopefully the next time we meet, which I'm hoping we can find a date next week to continue this, we will have that resolved, or in a position where you guys can look at an agreement and agree whether or not to sign it. This would be a document that would be signed between the two agencies prior to proceeding to the ballot, is basically what we're talking about here. Okay. Any more on that? Or do you want to, is it okay if we move to section 7, which is organizational structure? So this is page 14 of the plan, page 17 of the packet. So here is where we talk about the personnel agreements and policies, and the org chart for what would be in place on the first day of October if the voters approve the RFA is the very last page of the packet. So this is basically what would be in place in 4 months from now, 5 months from now.
Can we put that? Can we put that up on the screen?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't have that page printed, I guess.
I've got it. If Jason gives me screen control, I can do it. Unless, Jason, you want to do it.
You should be able to do it, Karen.
Okay. There we go. So this is it. I don't know whether folks, oops, I just.
Commissioner Hanson, did you want to see the
the plan document or the org chart itself?
No, I just hadn't seen, I didn't look very close at this. I had that, I think it's sitting out on my other desk. This
Well, I
is,
think, yeah, this is, Jason, do you want to talk to us about what is in here? And obviously we need to be clear about what's going on with the District 4 employee coming over in this merger on October 1st. So can you walk us through this?
Yes, what you see there today, or what you see in front of you, is the combined paid staff of both districts as of today, which will be the same on October 1st. And as far as the line staff, you see a lieutenant and 2 firefighters, or a captain and 2 firefighters at each station, 69, 63, 12, and 61. You see 2 mechanics. You see an assistant chief of operations, which we currently have on a temporary basis. You see a training captain, a training admin assistant. You see a deputy fire marshal, and then you see the human resources assistant, the business manager or finance manager, and then administrative assistant, executive administrative assistant, and fire chief. And that is how that is everybody accounted for having a job October 1, 2021.
so am I correct then? So if we look at it this way, we all understand then for the placement of these positions, we're going to develop policies and job descriptions with qualifications that will ensure that the people that are placed in those positions will have went through, whether you go for a process or if maybe our people already meet whatever requirements they came up with. But those positions would be, there'll be a process, an assessment, and qualified individuals in the position. Same with this position over here, and probably all positions. I just want to make sure that we're beyond that. That's what our new bylaws and policies are going to reflect.
I'm confused now. I thought that the District 4 had taken the personnel issues off the table.
No, that was the personnel issues of who we were trying to state, we wanted our person in a certain position. But all we're asking for, we have never, and I don't think any of the board members would take off the table. We want to make sure this is a new court organization. We want to make sure that we have qualified individuals that meet the qualifications and requirements of those positions, following a job description. And that, I don't, that who the chief hires, that's what we were discussing. That's his decision, but it's got to be based on, you can't just go hire and I know chief, you wouldn't do this, but you can't go hire your friend or somebody that doesn't have the background or qualifications for that job position. And I don't think anybody could argue that. That's all we're looking at.
Correct. Yep.
And I believe that'll happen.
Yeah. The RFA board, whether it's, I have to ask Karen if it's typically part of a plan to put job descriptions in a plan. I don't know. It's, and I
or adopt the ones that are there.
Sorry?
Or we could adopt the ones that are already in place.
Right. For those that are in place, yeah, we could adopt those. Moving forward in a partnership, I would think that running new job descriptions past the D4 board, I don't know if that would necessarily be binding, but it would be, I think, in the spirit of moving forward and working together. If the District 4 board had comments, we could, you could send those to the District 21 board for review and approval, or when it goes to before approval. I would remind everybody that the District 21 board, because of the number of policies that the district needs, we are currently working with a company called Lexipol, which is that's what they do, is policy procedure. And because of the number, the District 21 board has authorized the fire chief to approve policies that do not cause financial impact to the district. So, cap on the toothpaste policies. A really good example, and I'm actually being quite serious, is breast pumping for a new mother that comes back to work. We don't have a policy like that. We have female firefighters. We have female firefighters that are of childbearing years, and to do the best thing for our employee, we need to put that in place. And talking to fire chiefs that haven't had that in place, that's been an issue at other departments. And so those are the kind of things that the board has given me the approval to sign and put in place. But anything, like I said, anything causing financial impact to the district has to come before the board. So yeah, we're gonna be open and transparent and share those things back and forth. But yes, I agree, Commissioner Hanson, that job descriptions and those requirements would be looked over by the board prior to being put in place.
I think that our board would probably want to. I think those need to be expedited a little bit. Our board that was kind of one of our concerns, and we understand it is totally up it's the chief's right to select his staff, and as long as it's being selected using approved job procedures that we've all agreed to, and I think that we'd like to see those prior before we sign off totally on this. So. That's going to be important.
So now I'm very confused now about what you're asking for, Dave.
I think I'm being pretty clear, Karen. What we're saying is we'd like to see written job descriptions with qualifications that should be submitted to both attorneys to review to make sure that when we go to hire and go to place our staff, we have qualified individuals. We're selecting our staff that meet the qualifications for the positions we're putting them in. You need me to clarify?
I'm unclear if Jason's not hiring anybody between now and October. What's the plan?
We're talking about the procedure that goes into the plan for the RFA in our plan.
Okay, so this is why I'm.
That will be binding.
I think this is where you need to start trusting your fire chief and give him some leeway.
We do trust our fire chief. It's his right to hire. What we're stating, though, is what we'd like to see is that we know that there's a parameter. That's the board's responsibility. And if you go to the bylaws or the governance, it is the board's responsibility to approve those policies and those positions. Not the positions, I'm sorry, but the qualifications. That's all I'm saying. It's not a big deal. Chief, I know the chief's going to he's going to put the best people in the right place. This has nothing to do with our employees because he gets to choose who he wants to hire if he uses the process.
So maybe I am still the only person confused, but earlier in this meeting, we talked about this agenda item 4, and I wrote down that this top paragraph text here was withdrawn. And I hear you speaking about these same issues. So that is my confusion, Dave. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. And I didn't mean to make it confusing. I wanted to make sure that when we talk about that, it's clear. Our issue before was I thought we were trying to get into who the chief hired, and that is not our issue. Our stance is we just want to, just as I'm sure the District 21 board wants to make sure, is that when we're moving or when we're selecting positions, filling positions, that it is being done using a process. A process meaning there's a job description for that job and qualifications in that job. And as long as the chief is, when he goes out and he goes to either promote within or he goes outside for an assessment center, like he said he was going to do for one of the positions, that there's a parameter. And I think that helps him know what he's looking for. He's going to have some input in those job descriptions. And that's all we're stating, is that there needs to be a process, and there's reasons that that's important. So I'm not going to sit here and beat this up. That's I think that just makes sense. That's what we do in any business.
I'm a little confused about how to proceed here. Is District 4 saying that they want language along these lines in the plan? Or is District 4 saying that you would like the separate ILA that we were just talking about earlier to include a statement that says before the chief hires anyone, there will be a board-approved job position and qualifications in place? Or
no, I don't think it needs to be in the ILA. I think it just needs to be agreed upon between with both boards that it's a pretty simple stance. And as a chief, I don't think we need something in ILA in writing. I think that it's just very clear that both boards agree that that's important, that we fill our positions using people that meet job qualifications and written job procedures.
Chief, I'm at a loss. I don't understand how to.
So I don't think this is a chief question. I think it's a governance question. I understand what Commissioner Hansen's saying, and I would hope that he sees reflected in the workforce here at District 21 that there is a vetting process. If it's the 3 administrative positions that we're talking about currently in District 21, they've been here for a decade.
We're talking all 4 positions,
right?
So our employee, let's just take and put that into place since we're going to talk about it, has been there for seniority over all but 1 of your positions.
But I don't go by seniority when I put someone in a position.
I know we take somebody that's in a total different field and we move them into another field that they've never been in. That's understandable. Promoting within is great, and I respect it as long as the people that we promote within meet the qualifications of the job description. That's all I'm saying.
May I chime in on this, Dave and Karen? I think there is agreement that you need job descriptions. There's no lack of job descriptions planned as far as I can tell. I think the question is one of timing. The RFA plan itself, in my opinion, does not need to include job descriptions, but there need to be job descriptions at some point. So this is a job for the RFA board, not this planning committee. And so we're not really discussing the organizational structure at this moment. We're discussing something that's not going to be in the plan probably, and will have to be done later. So I think we're wasting time talking about job descriptions when we have agreement already that there need to be job descriptions. It's a question of timing, Dave.
I agree with that. I support that. I think I just wanted out on the table though that was still, and it was more the point that we need job descriptions. And when we go to fill jobs, we need to follow those. We need to make sure that we're staying within those parameters. But I agree, that can be worked out with the RFA board at a later time.
Okay, so I'm hearing that we're not talking about plan issues. We're talking about acknowledging that the RFA board will have to take up this question, and one would expect there to be job descriptions before people are hired. That's kind of basic business. And I have no reason to think anyone would want other than a job description. But we're not picking up those other issues today. I think there is. I just want to go back to this. Can you? No, you probably can't see this. Can you? There we go. I want to just go back and make sure that folks are comfortable with this 10-1 and that there is no confusion who is sitting where. We don't normally append names to these things, right? But I am a little concerned if there is remaining confusion and concern about where the existing administrative staff are going to be housed and the jobs that they will be performing on October 1st, assuming that they are all still employed in good standing as of that date. Are there any questions we really need to work through here?
I have no concern with it as long as we have trained qualified individuals filling the roles.
Who decides that? I mean, we
Industry
keep
standards.
passing this over and over. You know, we agree at the beginning of the meeting, we do what we're doing, and then all of a sudden somebody comes back and says,
Not somebody, Scott, Commissioner Hansen did. And all I'm doing is I want to make sure there's no surprises. We're talking about the hiring procedure right now. This is where we should bring that up. We are not talking about people, staff, who their names are. We're talking about how we fill these roles. And that's what's important to me, is just that we know we're building a new organization. You know, and of course we love our fire chief, but just because Jason's the chief right now, who knows, maybe that there's some new world standard, that there's bigger qualifications. I'm just using that as a being kind of crazy, but all we're stating is I just want to make sure that it doesn't become an issue further down the road, is that we do all agree that there will be job descriptions. I'll just tell you, we did a request for job descriptions from all of District 21's job descriptions. They didn't have one for the HR manager's position. There was a few different ones that weren't available because they're not written. So I run companies. I have a job description for every single one of my positions, and it's legally, that's the way you do business. So we just want to make sure that the job descriptions are there. It sounds like they're going to be, sounds like it's not an issue. So again, we'd be remiss not to bring it up now and then move down the road and have this become a big issue. With the new board especially, we don't want any concerns. But again, it sounds like they're going to be there. It sounds like it's not going to be a concern. The board approves those policies, so it'll be whatever the RFA board approves.
Well,
That was fun. Thanks.
Had to get it out there.
so yes, the future RFA board will be looking at job descriptions, and that is our org chart, and everybody that's got a chair now will have a chair then. And if there is any concern about the precise chair that in particular Ms. Parks hosts or holds on October 1st, there's any question about what that's going to be, we probably need to.
We have no question with that. It's pretty clear. She's acceptable to that, and we're acceptable to it. As long as she meets the qualifications for that job.
what job?
You don't know what her job is? On the org chart? She's listed as the training assistant. That's a good job.
I believe that is correct. She would be slotted in. The other folks that are serving in their current roles would continue in their current roles until or unless they left or the job changed somehow or was eliminated. Jason will continue to reach out to the board if he needs to get approval for a new job description. And there may be a job description associated with the training manager, since that would be a position that you don't have in-house right now. Is that right, Jason?
Correct.
Harry, were you wanting to say something? I thought Harry was wanting to say something.
So we need to move this process on. We're dragging our feet now.
Okay, well, let's go back to page 14. We've talked about the organization chart. We've talked about we haven't yet talked about part B here. This is section 7B on page 14 of the plan, page 17 of your packet. The fire chief of District 21 will be the fire chief of the RFA. The existing personnel from both agencies will transfer over with their current rank, grade, and seniority into the org chart that we just reviewed. And the employee agreements and collective bargaining agreements are all going to come over as well. The administrative policies, Commissioner Hanson, you had raised a concern about this before. This is all administrative functions from the participant policies and procedures from the participating jurisdictions transfer over to the RFA unless otherwise noted in this plan. I don't know if District 4 has any policies and procedures that would need to be transferred over. They obviously have an employee contract with Ms. Parks that would be transferred over. Otherwise, it will be the District 21 policies. The goal is for a seamless transition. We're now on section 8 then, the next page, 15. So part 3 talks about existing standards of cover being adopted in the new agency. And basically that just means as we go forward, your target service levels will stay as they are today. And hopefully we will have the funding to ensure that those service levels can be maintained as the district continues to grow and you continue to get a lot of calls for service. Mutual aid agreements would continue. There's a discussion about fire marshal services. Whatcom County will continue to provide fire marshal services as they do today. And I believe Whatcom County will continue to provide emergency management services in unincorporated areas of the RFA. And that is pretty much it. The org chart will have a jurisdictional boundary map, and I will probably need to ask for Joe and Matt to let us know if there's any specific details on that need to be met. But we've got a map that we can share, and you guys can tell us if it needs more detail. We've got the org chart that we just saw. We have the appendices of things that will transfer, and that is basically the plan. Any questions or comments at this point on that document, or concerns, things you want to double back to at a later meeting? Because if not, we could maybe take a preliminary vote in support of this. Well, I say maybe we should probably wait until we get the language from the attorneys, or we could approve this subject to seeing that and revoting that piece, whichever. We can just do it once, or we can do it today and again. What would you prefer?
I would like to get the ILA issue sorted out.
Okay. All right.
That's me. I'm one of this
Good point. Anyone?
Group. I'd like to hear from John and Scott if they would.
At this juncture, Bruce, I think that's a pretty good idea.
Okay. District 4 folks, are you okay with this idea of holding off on approving anything? So we would come back our next meeting and we would seek to get support for the draft plan, the additional RFA plan language, and then as so incorporated the plan overall. And we would take all those votes at our next meeting, and we would also then, Chris Fawcett would, and Heather and I will be working on what is the messaging going out to the public for this second round of outreach in the last half of April, and we'll present that for you all to look at and refine and get comfortable with. So that's the plan for the next agenda then. Any other concerns or ideas for the next agenda? I have nothing else on our agenda then today. This has been a productive call, obviously, and a challenging one. So thanks for everybody for hanging in there. Joe and Matt, thank you for being here and helping us with this discussion. And there's Bill. I see him there. Hello, Bill.
Made it.
Any other comments for the good of the order here before we ask Bruce to run the motion to adjourn? And are there any closing comments by union members or anyone else? Ken, did you want to chime in here?
Yes, thank you, Karen. I just wanted to express my appreciation for the 6 members of the RFA board here today to get to the progress that we have gained and moving forward the RFA process. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Kenneth. Anyone else want to offer comments here in this closing comments round here?
We need to pick a date next week if we're going to have a meeting.
Yes, we do. We probably should. Bill, did you want to make a comment? Oh, we're not hearing you. That microphone thing, and you're not on mute, so we may have to hold off on that.
I believe the only bad days for me next week are Monday and Tuesday. That's Dave.
All right. Can everybody take a quick look at their calendars for a 2-hour slot next week? So this 10 to noon on Thursday will probably work for me. Otherwise, we'd probably be looking at Wednesday afternoon. Does this time next week work for folks, 10 to noon? Thursday morning.
Is that the 8th, Karen? Am I looking at this right? The 8th?
That would, yes, sir. That would be Thursday, the 8th.
That works
Not for me.
It doesn't
Doesn't
work. How about Wednesday afternoon, the 7th? What kind of availability do folks have Wednesday afternoon, the 7th?
Okay, here.
Thank you, Commissioner Andrews. Commissioner Ansel, does that work for you?
I can make that work.
Commissioner Fisher, Wednesday afternoon, the 7th?
Yep, I can make that one.
Commissioner Land?
Are people, again, I don't know the history, are people opposed to like late afternoon, early evening, like, starting at 5:30, or is that just something you don't do?
We haven't done it, but we could do it if the group was willing.
I don't want to upset the apple cart, but that would be my plan. That would be my first choice for Wednesday.
Like at 4 o'clock? Or are you thinking 5 to 7, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, more of a 5 to 7-ish, but I understand if that doesn't work, I can move my day around.
I think we've tried to accommodate the administrative staff positions that have normal working hours. So
Easier if we go over the lunch mark, like go 12 to 2, so you're missing 1 hour of work.
Maybe that would be better.
12 to 2 on Wednesday, the 6th. No, 7th, sorry, 12 to 2, Wednesday the 6th.
Good here.
Seven.
Wednesday the 7th.
7th. Commissioner Crawford,
Yes, ma'am.
does that work for you?
Whatever time you want to do on 7th, I'm agreeable to.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher, you good then?
I'm good then.
Okay, and who am I missing
Heather,
here?
can you join us then?
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay, so noon to 2 next Wednesday. Speak now or be there. Okay, all right. We will have Jenny send a notice out for that, and we will take up the items that we talked about earlier. Any other closing comments here today?
If District 4 is going to amend a contract between now and then, will that be in an open public meeting so that we can see it?
This is the first I didn't even know we had this item pending, so I'm when Dave was talking about when he was talking about this particular issue, he must have been referring to himself and Harry. I haven't worked through this conversation yet, so I can't answer that.
Harry, are you?
What exactly do you mean by changing our agreement?
My understanding is Commissioner Hanson said that that he was in the process of reviewing and making some changes to your employee's contract. And I was just curious if you guys were going to do that in an open public meeting or how we were be made aware of those changes.
I have nothing to say on that.
Ms. Parks?
Yeah, I would go ahead and put it on the agenda. I mean, and distribute all the information to the commissioners. And it will be in an open public meeting. The board most likely will have an executive session and then come back out to the public meeting.
And what we're talking about is just the follow-up on the review that we just had
Evaluation.
in
Yep.
session. We just need to finalize that. We had that at our last meeting, and that has, Mark, I believe you were in that meeting as we were conducting the review, and Harry, and all we have to do is finalize that. We just hadn't finalized the review process.
And when is that meeting?
At our next board meeting.
So it will be after our next RFA meeting.
Yes.
It'll be on April 14th, the next board meeting.
And that was on our agenda anyway.
Yes.
Or would be.
I'm worried that there might be a conflict between that and what we perceive to be the interlocal agreement we're talking about.
I can assure you it won't be a 40% increase. So just standard.
Well, I think, okay, Bruce, your concern is noted. Obviously, District 21 would want to see that contract at some point. And the work will continue by the lawyers to map out what is within the scope of the no significant changes discussion. Commissioner Land.
So would there be any reason why we couldn't move our board meeting up so that we could have those answers to accommodate, to keep the RFA moving?
You could hold a special meeting.
You could hold a special meeting to do it.
Yeah, we have to prepare everything.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, but why don't we just do that so that we can then bring back an answer for Bruce and his board and make sure there's nothing that continues to put off the RFA timeline.
That's a good idea. We'll get together. We'll come up with a date to try and be ahead of the game. That, in fairness, that'll, I think, satisfy Bruce.
Great, thank you for that.
That would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else before we sign off here today? All righty, well, thank you all. And we will be continuing this with an eye towards reaching out to our public. And we will see you all next Wednesday at noon.
So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's not debatable. It passes unanimous. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.